Thanks for joining MBFA Chinwag Podcast, where we will take you along our journey as a couple of dog trainers. We live here in the beautiful northern rivers of New South Wales on a 72-acre property, and life here on the farm is full of stories. We hope that our stories can provide you with clarity and guidance with what it truly means to live with dogs. Now here are your two hosts, John with his ADHD Spanish flair, and Sam with her autistic outlook on life. Buckle up and get ready for the circus.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to MBFA Chinwag's podcast, where I believe now we have grown from not only one listener to 3 listeners. I think there's like a good 5 people that are listening to our podcast.
I'd say a solid 5. Hey guys, how are you?
Oh, and welcome to the main host of the show.
Oh, stop it. I'm just going to sit here quietly for most of it. You might hear my through the mic.
I don't know if we've ever explained this to people, but or anybody who is actually like part of our group of clients who train with us. But
As soon as we start recording, every time Zen loses his marbles.
Zen is on his back like a little cucaracha.
AKA dung beetle.
Whenever we start talking, he just goes off and like tries to annoy the shit out of us. So
Good boy, Zen. Keep it up.
hence why he's our smartest, most wisest dog of the lot.
Anyway, sorry, my love. I interrupted you.
Well, anyway, Sam suffers from something I call sleep apneas, meaning that she falls asleep like mid-conversation. You do. I've been talking to you and mid-flow of a conversation, next minute, your eyes are rolled back, snoring, like
Yeah, because you're talking to
dribbling.
me about crap at 9 p.m. Of course I'm going to be asleep and get up at 2.
Anyway, if Sam goes silent, it's probably because she's fallen asleep on the chair over here. The other thing that I wanted to just put it out there. I know we haven't really said it, but people that know us well enough is this is not a podcast for children. This is an adults podcast. You'll more so me than Sam, but I will definitely drop a few F-bombs and use quite explicit language. So keep that in mind when you're watching or listening to some of these podcasts, because I'd hate for your kids to adopt my language.
They're going to need an interpreter, guys.
It's actually that funny. A lot of our clients are talking like how we talk now because they're around us so much. There's some people that have dropped the F-bombs that we have never dropped an F-bomb before. So anyways, that's enough of John waffling. So yeah, thanks for being back here. Today's topic is, for us, all of these topics are important to us anyway, but this one in particular, because we are so stupidly passionate about it, is the importance of training your puppy and kind of like what does that mean. I guess the angle that I wanted to take with this is that, and I've mentioned it already in another podcast, but I really want to take you guys down the route of memory lane of what it was to have a dog once upon a time. And for me personally, and I'm assuming for Sam it's not too different, but I'm 38 years old. My first 2 dogs were these two brother and sister pitties. They were fighting backgrounds, and we had them as a puppy. But the thing that I definitely remember going back 34 years ago is that being with the dogs, the way that society or the way that our family, and I don't think that anybody who is listening, they're too far from the way society was or the way that their home was structured or their family dynamics was structured. But basically, for me personally, growing up with, our first 2 dogs were 8 weeks old and had them for many years. But the thing that I definitely remember is that like I spent a lot of time with those puppies.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time with those puppies. And the way that my family dynamic was is like my dad would go off to work either for a 12-hour or 16-hour shift. So like I wouldn't see him across the entire day. So my mum was a stay-at-home mum, and I was a young 4 or 5 year old kid. And so basically the way that it kind of worked, like it was kind of like a chain of events, but my mum would manage and mitigate me. And by default, because I was so like Velcro to the dog, I would, as a 5-year-old kid, manage and mitigate the dogs and what they would do. Even though they were outside dogs, so they definitely weren't inside dogs back then. They were outside dogs. But whenever I was out on the streets playing soccer or whatever it might be, like the dog was like, puppy was stuck to a leash right next to me as I was doing the things. Like I'd go under the house with them, I'd play soccer in the backyard with them, I'd be kicking the ball in the front yard, but they were always right next to me. And by default, I was always mitigating like what they were doing, like what they could or can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was then mitigated once again by my mother, like screaming at me through the window, telling me like to not go down the driveway or to not go down too far, or like that I've only got like, 5 minutes to go down to the shop down the road and then walk my dog straight back. Like I didn't have, like, my mum was controlling and mitigating all of my decisions, which then by default I was controlling and mitigating all of the dog's decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So in like,
Did we say what we were talking about today?
yes.
Okay, sorry guys. I had to leave quickly because Zen was stealing Hans's teddy, so I wasn't sure if we actually said it. Anyway, sorry.
So I guess the reason why I kind of wanted to bring up that, and again, I think Sam's story isn't probably too far from that, and I'm sure that anybody who is probably trying to build a family or has a family, they're roughly around the same age as us, and older. But I guess the thing is like we see a lot of people that are kind of our age who have families and they're trying to bring in puppies into the picture.
Mm.
But the difference between, I find, like with what we've created or what we have or what we do versus like the general public is that we haven't really lost our touch with how to mitigate a puppy. Like that's just something like I've just always done dog things my entire life throughout, like being a teenager, young adult, and now like as a middle-aged man. I think it's just important that like people understand that because people don't do or don't create time and space and put effort and awareness into the whole puppy thing, that it's actually twice as important for them to put more effort into it because they're not in the rhythm of it. They're not in the flow of like puppy development like we are.
It's not second nature.
That's right.
It's not like,
And I think that it's kind of like that double-edged sword because like they need to be twice as invested as what we are, because they're not as involved as we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those things too that I find that the general public really struggles with this is because of those two things, they actually don't see the importance of puppy training.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of people go like, oh, I don't know, I trained my puppy, I did it myself.
Yeah, I can do it myself.
And then like 6 months later, they've got like some serious aggression issues.
Yeah, they've got problematic behaviours that have kind of snowballed from things that they could have mitigated or managed the dog through very early on.
Yeah.
And now they've got problem behaviours that, they've got to work through, I guess you could say.
I think like the hardest thing, and it, like an easy way to understand this would be like as an example, I like building stuff. I like working with timber. I've got tools and all that sort of stuff, but I wouldn't go around and like get somebody to hire me to build their home. Do you know what I mean? Like as in, I have like a general idea of like what I'm doing, but I wouldn't go as far as like building a home. And so when we're trying to build a dog to be a better dog, a lot of people just refer back to like, oh, I used to have dogs as a kid. and like they have like a general idea, but again, like going back to like they're just not in the rhythm of it, they're not in the flow of it, and they kind of forget that we age and our temperaments develop, and we live a totally different life to us.
Yeah, that's right.
having,
Lifestyles change as
yeah,
well. Yeah, as you mentioned earlier.
for sure.
Mm.
And the other thing too is we often find is that people, you know, their last dog, you know, unfortunately passes away as like an older dog who's like really slowing down in their years, and then they get a 8-week-old puppy who is a savage,
Yeah.
basically just a puppy. But it's like, holy shit, like I think I just I think I've got a fucking bull shark in the back of my car. Do you know what I mean? Like, did I just tuck in a bull shark into the crate? Like we fully forget like what it's like to have a puppy.
This is an alligator rolling around in the back of the car.
Like even for us having Paco, who's like 16 weeks old, like even us who are in the flow of things, we are in the rhythm of things. Like I look at Paco and I'm like, holy shit, like this guy is just he reminds me of like Looney Tunes, like the Tassie Devil that spins around.
While you were talking, I was trying to think of his name, but I can't. Oh, isn't it just Tassie?
Tassie Devil.
Yeah, Tassie Devil.
He's just like,
yeah, he's Tassie Devil.
Barges over shit, through things, bites shit, rolls on his back, wants to like instigates play constantly, like all of these
causes all of his own problems.
Yeah, like the other day he had a battle with the creek water because it splashed up onto his face, and now he's like fighting the running creek.
And then he dunked his head in accidentally because he slipped over, and then he's really got the shits with the river, and he's actually having a crack at it. And, you know, 100% of those issues were created all by him.
So, like, I mean, I often find, like, I wish, we've said it before plenty of times, like, I wish we could just have, like, a really decent and honest conversation with people just before they get a puppy.
Yeah.
Like, if people had, like, a little bit more forethought in going, like, okay, like, I'm going to get a puppy, I'm going to go talk to my vet. And then hopefully like the vet has links to like a dog trainer like our vet does with us, where they can go, okay, maybe contact these guys, have a conversation with these guys, and like having like a really decent and honest conversation with people about getting a puppy and what it involves. And it's not like to scare them or anything. It's more that like we kind of want to go, hey, we want this to go like as smoothly as possible for you. Because one of the things that I think we miss out on so much is like the beautiful things about having a puppy.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think on the same train of thought, I think people romanticize the idea of having a puppy.
Yep.
And what that's going to look like, which is usually like the first 2 weeks of having a puppy where it's all cuddly and the puppy's really sooky and they need you and they follow you everywhere. And, oh my gosh, they're sleeping through the night and they haven't pooed in the house once, and, you know, they have a good run for a week.
Yeah.
And then what happens off the back of that is just carnage.
Yeah.
And that's when the shock to the system occurs, where you have people going, what have I done?
I think the shock comes like from almost like from two pathways, because for sure you get like the people who go like, oh my God, like our puppy is just a dream. And then you get the people that are like, oh my God, this puppy is an absolute fucking nightmare. And so what happens, like, I think both of those people are going to get their, like, there's both of those types of situations are going to get the rug pulled from underneath them, because, like, if you don't know, you don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, again, as you said, like, people romanticize, like, a week later, then you've, you know,
you're in the trenches.
You're in the trenches with the dog, and then, you know, the people who are struggling right from the get-go, they probably hadn't even given it two thoughts. Like, often people just get puppies dumped on them for their birthdays or Christmas or whatever it might be, and they don't even know.
Yeah, terrible idea, by the way.
Yeah. So I guess, like, going back to like the theme of the podcast here is, like, we really want to try and get you guys to understand is that there's so much more to, like, having a puppy, and how, like, just society in itself has changed. Our family dynamics have changed, and it actually has made it a lot tougher for us. And because there's this, like, we've gotten our wires mixed up, we're not in alignment with dogs.
Well, we're not in alignment. Society and as a whole is not in alignment with anything.
Yeah,
to be completely honest.
You name the topic, and we're just struggling as
that's
a
exactly
society.
right. So then the dogs fall into that category as well. But I guess the unfortunate thing about that is that it's usually the dogs that cop the brunt of the crappiness.
Yeah, like they get the short straw.
That's right.
The short straw.
Yes, the short straw.
Okay. The thing, like, this is what I like. I always find it super fascinating is like the amount of like the general public just like not knowing things about the dog, considering that the dog is the number one animal on the planet.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
That is so like side by side with the human race.
Well, they're the most common. Like almost every household has a dog. So the misunderstanding surrounding understanding a dog, like that's mind-boggling. I say it to you at least once a week where I'm like, it just absolutely baffles me that there is so much like confusion around living with a dog when they're so common. Like it'd be different if you're like, oh, hey, like I've got a snow leopard and now and now I'm learning how to live with it. Yeah. Like that's different. Like that's totally different. Like when I'm dealing with dingo specific clients, that's a little different because not everybody has a dingo. Yeah. But if you think about a dog, like a dog, if you leave your home and go out into the world, there's almost like a 99.9% chance that you're going to see a dog. Yeah. They're very, very common. So the fact that there is so much misunderstanding, so much like confusion around what it means to truly live with a dog, like that baffles me. I don't think I've ever get over that.
I remember vaguely, I don't know the stats exactly, but I think it's somewhere along the lines of like 1 in 3 households has a dog.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot.
And that's just one dog, let alone like, you know, psychopaths like us who have like 6.
Yeah.
So the thing that like I'm always like really, 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 really baffled by is the dog being the most common animal that we have. Like households have cats. Like I think like the stats are a little bit lower for cats in households. But like the dog, when you go back in history, it's like the one animal that up until today, like wakes up every morning going like, hey, what are we going to do, mum or dad? Like they're so, intrigued and fascinated, and so they're almost like equally romanticized about like what they're going to do with us. Like they're so in alignment with like, hey, let's just do some shit together. Like a cat, like don't get me wrong, the cats that I've met, but this is not a cat podcast, but the cats that I've met I've really genuinely loved and I've enjoyed them, but they don't wake up in the morning going, hey, let's go conquer the world like a dog does. The closest thing might be like a horse, but even then, like you can't take a horse to a fucking cafe. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like a birds have like that sort of level of emotional intellect for sure. But again, they're like the amount of dogs that are on this planet and the amount of dogs that are in each and every household, I really struggle with like people not knowing enough. And I guess this brings me to the term of like cynopraxis. So the term was created by a dog trainer. I think he might be a scientist. I'm not sure, but he created basically the textbook of dog training, Stephen R. Lindsay. And I forget what the textbook is actually called.
We've got several of them in the office.
I think it's like something like applied behavioral science or something.
It's something like that, yeah.
Along those lines.
Yeah.
But Stephen R. Lindsay created the word, and well, anyway, I at the very least I heard it through reading his books. Cynopraxis basically means, to anybody who's listening, is the relationship between man and dog, or
the harmonious relationship between man and dog.
And that has, when I first started getting into like reading dog training sort of educational books, like textbooks and all that sort of stuff, and Stephen R. Lindsay was one of the first textbooks that I ever read. I read most of his books, like chopping back and forth, but I read most of them. That's the one word that really stuck by me, that I was like, wow, that's just like we have strayed so far away from that.
Mm.
And it, again, to tie it in with what we were saying before, it's like, how can we stray so far away from the dog?
Mm.
I would like, don't get me wrong, like I genuinely think things have gotten better for the dog over the years, for sure. As in, like, they have more comforts. Like, homes have air cons when it's hot outside. And so we bring the dog in. The dog has access to coming inside, most dogs now. Most dogs back in the day, they were outside dogs. For sure, they get like comfy beds, and we put blankets on them. We even go to the extent of like dressing them up, and we kind of like look after them like a child. But
That has a whole myriad of problems in itself.
but that's like that, you know, that like pros and cons, right? Like,
Because that's where people stop viewing them as a dog.
as a dog,
And they start viewing them as a human child, and then that's when that's where confusion also seeps into the picture.
Yeah.
When people don't actually understand that their dog is a dog and their dog is going to do doggy things.
Yeah.
And that's very, very common when it comes to puppies.
Yeah.
And people raising a puppy and having a puppy, where you've got this little being that's just popped out into the world.
Yeah.
It is a dog, thinks like a dog, is never going to think like a person.
What's the saying? If it quacks like a dog, walks like a dog, it must be a dog.
Yeah, but the word's duck. If it
Oh,
quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, must be duck. Anyway, I think like that's a struggle in itself, because that's where we get a lot of questions of, oh my God, my puppy's biting, and oh my God, my puppy's barking, and oh my God, my dog's doing this and doing that. And it kind of, it usually makes me, like anytime that's brought forward, it's like, oh yeah, no, like of course they're doing those things. They're a puppy. They're a young dog. So of course they're going to be doing those things. They're testing everything out the same way that a human child would. It's just a human child does it slightly different.
Yeah.
Or very different, I should say. So, like we're seeing it with Paco now, he's starting to, like, he's 4 months old now. And he's starting to like press different buttons. So it's like, all right, here we go. Like we're now taking a step towards like the teenage stage, which is coming up. We're starting to see a few of those changes. And each time he does it, like I'm like, oh, there's that little behavior popping up, and okay, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to get through this? How are we going to guide him through that? So yeah, I think that's a problem in itself with people forgetting that they actually have a dog.
Yeah. I think that they, another way of like explaining that is like people find themselves lost in translation. I think, as in, like, because they don't know enough about their dogs anymore. They don't know what a dog looks like. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing with a dog. And so then they get really frustrated. They get upset. Like, what, as you said before, like, why is my puppy biting? It's like, oh, well, because you've got a puppy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's very foreign.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, just like two people from two totally different countries trying to communicate. Anyway, that's what I think. I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're very, what's the word? You articulate things beautifully.
Oh, I'm trying to be a little bit more quiet this podcast, because last podcast I think I said the word shit way too much. So just hush now, Sam.
When we're talking about, okay, so we've kind of like just unpacked, you know, what is a puppy, like some of the chain differences between like, you know, what it was 30 years ago to today. You know, people are getting confused about, you know, what puppy behavior kind of looks like. But in your understanding, or, you know, if you could explain to somebody, like, what is training? What is your definition of training, and why is it that like we kind of like do things differently? As in, like, we briefly touched on this, I think, in the last podcast where we said, you know, dogs are always learning, but what's, you know, us having a puppy, how would you explain like to somebody new what they should be doing?
Yeah. So we obviously use our puppy as the example. So with Paco, I would say that there's two different types of, I'm going to say learning as the word. So you've got type number 1, which is the training type of learning, which essentially is where you've got your puppy in a classroom setting, you've got your treat pouch on, you know, you've got your trainer hat on, you're consciously there going, okay, I'm going to teach my dog X, Y, Z as far as skills go. So I would say that there's that type of learning, which falls under the category of like training. And then the other type of learning, which I think is way more important, is your lifestyle type learning. So a lot of the stuff we've been doing with Paco over the last 2 months, 2.5 months that he's been with us is more so, hey, bud, I'm going to guide you through this moment and I'm going to show you what I need you to do in this moment. And this is like the lifestyle stuff. So we've touched on it before in previous podcasts, but essentially like going in and out of doors is a really good one.
Yeah.
What we expect of him when he's on different pieces of equipment is another good one. So harness versus flat collar versus slip lead.
Yeah.
There's that kind of learning going on. There's the kind of learning going on where we go out into the world and we sit down and just hang out together and we enjoy our time together. So that might look like play. It might look like calmness. It might look like Paco in like free liberty, where he's got a little bit of autonomy to choose what he wants to do. But essentially, I'm guiding him through that moment of, oh no, bud, we're just going to sit at the park and hang out together. That person over there has nothing to do with us. That dog over there has nothing to do with us. That child running past has nothing to do with us. So essentially, I'm guiding him through that aspect of learning. The other type of learning that we look at is like what we kind of label as like home management, where, you know, you're layering in all the things that you want to see your adult dog doing. So do I want my adult dog, when he's 50 kilos, barging through the baby gate, hitting the back of my legs, hitting the lounge on the full, doing zoomies in the middle of the house, jumping on the kitchen bench, getting into the bin? Like, do I want to see any of those things from my adult dog? Probably not. So what I'm going to do day in and day out, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, is I'm going to guide him through those moments. That doesn't mean that he's getting roused on. It just means, hey, bud, maybe not that choice. Choose this one instead.
Yeah.
So something that I do as soon as I wake up, pretty much, because Paco's very, very excited to see me. First thing in the morning, he'll jump up onto the baby gate. He's like losing his marbles. It's literally the first interaction that I have with him in the morning. I'll go, hey, bud, off you pop, take a breath. And then he jumps off. He's got all 4 feet on the ground. You see him take a tiny little breath, and then I'll open the gate and walk through. So from the very, very moment that I wake up, we're on. So consciously, I'm going, I don't want him doing that when he's an adult. So I'm going to make sure I put the reps in now so that he understands what I need from him in this exact moment.
Yeah. Would you say that...
So there's different types of training.
Yeah.
Right? So different types of learning. I've tried to like categorize it, because when you say the word training, people assume that it's just when you've got your trainer's hat on, your treat pouches on, and you're doing the thing with your dog.
That's where, like, I mean,
so
I think like when because we deal with like a lot of reactivity and aggression cases, fear and phobia, trauma, PTSD, like you name it, we're kind of like working in that space. But one of the things that we really see through like cases like that, especially, that when we try to go back in time as to, okay, so what did your puppy development kind of look like? One of the main, like the common denominators is like they all have gone to puppy school programs that have, they said that they came away with like, oh yeah, so in week 1 we learned to sit, week 2 was a recall, week 3 was a loose leash walking, week 4 was like mat training. And I think that that's where like well,
they're not teaching the dog how to regulate their emotions, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
When I'm explaining like all of that stuff, I'd say 99% of it is teaching your dog how to regulate their emotions, teaching your puppy there's a time and a place for this, and the time and the place for that is over here,
Yeah.
and this is where we do this thing. So basically guiding them through all of those different situations and scenarios, what they look like, what the criteria is behind them.
I think that's where like the general public really struggles, is because, and the obvious thing is like, because, you know, if they don't know, they don't know, right? But it's such a catchment to get like the general public to go like, hey, you're going to learn this in week 1, and week 2, week 3 is going to be a heel, week 4 is going to be a recoil, week 5 is going to be a loose leash walk. And it sounds like really good, all of those things, that my dog is going to learn all of those things. But those are things that like are skills that your dog will develop over time. And if I was to sort of summarize what you're saying, I guess in like a one sentence kind of thing, would be, we're kind of more importantly now during their puppy, like if we want to call it puppy training or puppy learning, whatever
Puppy
it might
development.
puppy development,
Yeah.
like we call our program puppy development program, is how they relate to things.
Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like you can teach your dog a sit and a down and a recall and a leave it and whatever it might be. You can teach your dog any skill, but at the end of the day, that skill is going to look like utter crap if your dog doesn't know how to keep it together in relation to the world.
Yeah. And I think like that the relating to is also like relating to you.
That's
And
right.
so what I have found, especially through puppy school programs, is like you'll get like an instructor that goes, okay, so today we're going to learn a sit, and this is how you're going to make your puppy sit, and they get the treat, and then like, you know, they, you know, might even tap the dog's bum or the puppy's bum, and the dog sits. And so then basically that human, those humans in those classrooms go home, and they go home and practice a sit.
That's right. The dog goes, this is.
And so the dog's introduction to how I relate not only to my human,
That's right.
but how I relate to my environment, to how I relate to the world, is all based off this fucking stupid sit.
That's right.
Sorry, I get really passionate about this because puppy development is one of our
Oh,
biggest passions.
it's one of the most, it's the most important training you'll do with your dog, because at the end of the day, like whatever they're learning when they're young is what is going to stick with them right through to the rest of their life. So like with our puppy at the moment, one of my favorite things is when we get out of the car, when we're in the outside world, and he looks up at me with his ears flapping everywhere and his tongue hanging out, and he's like, Mum, holy shit, what are we going to do today? It's the best feeling ever, right? So then we're at the park and we're running around and we're going in between like high energy, high arousal, and then low arousal, calmness. But like there's loads of things. Like if the general public was to watch me with my dog in that moment, they would see all the things that people label as naughty.
Yeah.
They'd see him carrying my arm around. They'd see him latch onto my pants. They'd see him jumping up on me. They'd see us wrestling. They'd see him tripping me over. Like they'd look at that and go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But what they're not seeing is my dog, my 16-week-old dog, not giving a shit about anyone but me.
Yeah, that's right.
So like for me, I look at that and go, oh, well, like I can fix all those little bits and pieces as he gets older when it's time, e.g. the jump.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about that right now.
Yeah.
Like we haven't, still to this date, haven't asked puppy for a sit at all. And I won't be at the moment.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like what they would see compared to what I'm seeing is two totally different like perspectives, I guess you could say.
And I think like, and this is where, again, when we do end up having a chat to some people who might be dealing with aggression or whatever it might be, or reactivity, like later on in the future, and we do press them on like, okay, so what did your puppy school program look like? And it looks like, you know, sits and downs and stays and mat training and all this sort of stuff. And then like fundamentally what they lost through that critical learning phase
was their relationships.
Like they hindered they compromise on the relationship in order to perfect the sit.
That's right.
And the thing is like your sit is only going to look as good as what your relationship looks like.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
You know, and so the really shit thing about any of that sort of stuff is that if we use like your example with Paco, when you're mucking around and being stupid at the park with him, you're putting like, if you think of like a tally,
That's right.
you're putting like money on your relationship.
Yeah.
So that if and when you get to a point in the future where you're being challenged by something,
That's right.
you've got money in the bank in your relationship.
Exactly. So,
Whereas people have got money in the bank in their sit, and even by then, like there's not a lot in there.
No. And like that's exactly right. That's a really good way to put it. And then also if you look at like their bank balance as far as their relationship goes, they're probably in the negatives at that point.
Yeah.
Because they would have come up against things that challenge them and their dog. And as you said, they've got no leverage. Like what I want, like, and we were laughing about this with one of the canine kindy sessions that we did, because one of our like sessions is that we do a resistance recall with the puppies to help build their confidence. So they're having to barrel through things, go around things, go over things, go under things to get to their human. I'm sorry, Zen's just scratching at the door. But like one of the things is that we do that activity, right? So like when we did it with Paco, because we've been applying so much to our relationship with him and having fun with him and just doing life with him, when it came to that resistance recall, I've never seen a dog barge everything in his way, like quite literally out of his way. He was like a little cannonball just to get to, oh no, mum's called me, I've got to go back. So like I want that. I want that with my puppy. I want, even though he's jumping and biting my pants and doing all those things, if I was to do a recall from the other side of the park, like I want him to be like, holy shit, mum's called me. I have to, with every fiber of my being, get back. Yeah. Got to get back to
like I've seen you guys get approached by total randoms with dogs.
Yeah.
And without too much persuasion. Like it's literally just been like, hey, bud, let's go this way.
Yeah.
Like he's actually walked straight past them.
He disengages very
like not even like, it hasn't even been like grabbing him and pulling him away because it's like too much. It's actually been like you've diverted his attention to swing straight by that dog.
That's right.
With that person.
And it's
I've seen you guys do that, and that's that money in the bank in like the relationship rather than like in the skill set.
Yeah, and it's an easy decision for him in those. Like I'm sure there's going to be situations that we come up against. There's absolutely going to be situations where it's a little bit trickier. But at the moment, like it's a very easy decision for him to disengage from a dog that means nothing to him or a human that means nothing to him, and for him to go, oh my God, like what are we doing, mum? And then like come back into our bubble. Yeah. And we go on our merry way doing our thing. Yeah.
This is also a dog that has a lot of motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for like the amount of people that we train, whether they're young puppies or older dogs who have a lot of motivation, but because once again, like the general public, because if they don't know, they don't know, they bank their money in somewhere that doesn't leverage them. And so what ends up happening is that they end up like finding themselves in sticky situations where I always kind of picture a magnet where the dog basically just gets pulled into a certain direction because they're so motivated to get to whatever it might be.
That's right.
And so the person's only knowledge because of like their puppy school program is to, crank the dog into a sit.
That's right. Exactly. So like then they're fighting two battles in that moment. So they're fighting the fact that the dog is motivated for everything other than they're human.
Yeah. So
they're fighting that battle. And then they're also fighting the battle of the dog going, well, I know that if I engage with you, you're just going to ask me for that shithouse sit.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good for me.
There's like a couple of conflicts there where it's like the dog goes, well, like I can't get to what I want, which already sucks. But then at the same time, like now you've told me we do this like really shitty sit that like it's not even flavored with anything remotely exciting, or that it has some form of like benefit to the dog. But yeah, like I think if people, well, I mean, look, let's look at our canine kindy students who just graduated, and as I always do with all of my graduates, is I'll always ask them, without any coaxing, without any like persuading them to um, say anything in particular. I'll always ask my students, okay, what did you walk away with? Like, if you had to describe this program to your friend who just gotten a puppy and this is what you're going to learn, what is it? And one of the most beautiful, like, it's like one of the best, what's the word? Compliments like we can receive is that not a single one ever says, oh, we learned how to do like a really good recall, or we learned how to do like a really good loose leash walk. It has never been about that. It has always been about like them walking away from the program going, like, my relationship is better with my dogs because of this.
Yeah, that's right. Or they'll say something along the lines
Along
of,
those lines,
like,
anyway.
I understand my dog more, or I understand why my dog's doing this more, or we're understanding each other a little bit better because we've got a good communication system in place, or whatever it might be. It's always something that is in relation to the relationship aspect,
Yeah.
which is why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like, and just for anybody that might be listening to this, it doesn't mean that we don't progress too, because our juveniles program is very much like the cliche obedience program. But the thing with that is that we even flavor that with our own flavor. Like, I've seen obedience programs, and whatever, each to their own, each to their dog trainer style. But one of the things that we've done very nicely is that our canine kindy program has set up those puppies to be able to handle the level of pressure and distractions that we start to add into some of those skill sets, like sit, like a down, like a heel, like a middle, like you name the skill set that we're doing in the Juvies program, and now we're doing it under pressure. So it's not like we don't do any obedience at all. We for sure do, but that's like in, phase 2. We need to make sure that, like, when you're dealing with puppies, that we're setting them up appropriately so that they can be well built. Often puppies that go through puppy school programs, because they don't know nothing about nothing, they don't know anything about family dynamics, they don't know anything about the environment, they don't know about like public spaces, they don't know about coffee shops or how to relate to children or bikes or cars or whatever, like, you name the thing, they don't know how to relate to those things. But how they're being taught is to make the dog either sit or lay down at the cafe, or to make sure that they go for a 1 hour walk, that on a loose leash walk. Like, that's their best piece of advice. So for us, we're very much adamant at pushing people to understand that we want to try and build our dog's internal state. We want to make sure that they are stronger internally, like that the way that they process information is better, the way that they can deal with pressures is better.
The way that they can problem solve is better, or
Yep.
that they've even got the thought to kind of go, oh, this feels a little bit funny. Let me problem solve with my human through this,
Yep.
rather than like a complete shutdown.
Yeah, 100%. Like, one of the things I know, there's a day, one of our days through our public school program is we'll walk them past like a 16-wheeler truck, because it's like the back dock to Coles, and somehow it's like the exact same time the truck airbags go off, where you hear that
Decompression brake.
is it decompression brake? I think
Yes.
they're airbags, aren't they?
Airbags are the things inside aren't they the things inside a vehicle that stop you from hitting your head on the dash?
No, no. These are airbags that go like in the suspension that lowers the truck or pumps them up, just like a
Ah,
bus. You know how buses can.
isn't that decompression?
Oh,
Compression.
well, deeper.
Anyway, whatever, guys. We're not mechanics.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
Clearly.
right. Is that like somehow while we're like either before, during, or after, like those bags or the decompression thing goes off where
The
the air like
Yeah.
releases, and it's so beautiful to see like that. Not only do the puppies handle it very well, but the owners know how to handle
That's
that
right.
very well. Like, how often do you get a puppy that the owners intentionally walk them past a back dock area
Yeah.
that has 16-wheeler trucks that has like pallets coming off it and shit.
Mm.
But just that sound of like the going off, and like the dog and the human like are handling it beautifully.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, you don't see that.
No.
And you don't hear about it either. Like, you don't, it's very rare that you get like someone going like, oh yeah, puppy in my puppy school program like handled that noise beautifully. Like, it's not that. The other thing that we do often is like, I'll pitch it to our canine kindy students is like, clock things that take your dog's attention. Like, when we go out into the world, like, is it the bird is it the pelican that just landed? Is it the car that just went by? Is it the bike that just went by? Is it the fucking raccoon that just slid down the fucking rain gutter pipe? Like,
I don't know where you're doing class. Why have we got pelicans and raccoons in Moolumba? What the hell?
Is it the moose that just walks straight down the road? Like,
is it the Canadian black bear? Oh no, that's Paco. Don't worry about it.
It's like we consciously make our owners conscious to be able to clock those things and go, what was it about the motorbike that went past that grabbed your dog's attention? It wasn't even like that it grabs their attention like they shut down and try to run away. It's more like they just turned their head and noticed the bike. And I always make sure that I'm getting our puppy school students to go like, why was that? Why do you think
to
that
just
was?
be aware of it as
Was
well?
it the sound? Do you think it was the movement? Was it like, has your dog ever seen a bike? Like, we end up having a really good deep discussion around it, and then we end up like helping them through like how to build a dog from that. Like, how to, like,
that's right.
You know, if it's something that is novel, I just think that it's super important that we know our dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on the back of that, it's also super important for us to be mindful that, I'd say honestly, for the first 2 years of your dog's life, every time they go out into the world, they're going to see, hear, smell something that they didn't know existed up until that point. So I think being mindful of those things when you're out in the world with your dog, especially your puppy, is also really, really important. Because a lot of the time, like, you'll see people that have a 12-week-old puppy and they're just dragging the puppy through town and not really paying attention to what the dog's doing, what the dog's struggling with. They're not guiding the dog through any of those moments. So I think it's really important to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah.
And how tiring that would be for your dog to go out into the world and go, holy shit, like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And now they've got to process that and figure out where to place that in their brain as far as where to categorize it. That's like coming from somebody that has autism, that's exhausting. Like, exhausting. So being mindful of your dog's going through that during the puppy development stage is also super important.
I think as you mentioned before, like, creating dogs that are problem solvers is the key when it comes to puppy development programs, or just like developing your puppy. Like, even if you don't end up going through a puppy school program, which we advocate for, but like, you want to be able to teach your dog that either on their own or through you, with you, that you're going to get through this little stressor, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And through the consistency of that in that, like, as in you supporting your dog through that, you will produce a dog that is a confident dog. And I think for me that the best definition of confidence is a dog that is courageous. And I guess for me, the best definition of courage is that it's not that like a dog doesn't fear, or a person in this, we could humanize it if we wanted to, but it's not that we don't feel fear, it's not that we don't feel stress of the unknown, but it's going, hey, you know what, I'll step straight back into that.
Yeah, and I'll get through it. I know I'll get through it. I know
I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And when you've flavored your dog's
experiences
through that, you are now producing a dog that is adaptable.
That's right.
Adaptability doesn't necessarily come through a fucking sit.
No, it doesn't. I'd say it doesn't at all, to be completely honest.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like a sit is a trick when you really think about it. Like a sit is in the same category as me teaching a dog how to roll over.
Yeah.
Rollover is a bit more complicated for sure. Yep, couldn't agree more, but it's still just a trick. And what we're really looking at when we're trying to develop dogs is like, we need to go a bit more like at a deeper level than just teaching these things to our dogs.
Yeah. Can I use two funny examples that we've had just this week with Paco, and I was talking to you about it a couple of days ago. I'm really enjoying, now that he's getting a little bit older, his awareness of things and his ability to start connecting dots of, like I've seen that before, and I've seen this before, and I've seen this before. So there's two circumstances. So yesterday he was at the river and he was getting the shits at his own splashes in the water. He ran in, slipped over on a rock, face first into the water, like his whole head went under. He got up, ran out, and was like, holy shit, was like shaking himself off. He sat on the riverbank for like 0.3 seconds to reevaluate his life choices. And then straight away, he's like, no, stuff that. I'm going to go back into that river. And then he did. And he stood there and told it off, like barked at it for like 5 minutes. Like, screw you. You're not going to win. Like, that's like, he could have, if he wasn't built to be a strong dog internally, like some puppies would experience that and be terrified of water. Yeah. And go, oh, I'm tapping out.
Yeah, that's right. And then you've got like a whole 6 months of trying to like deal with that dog's trauma.
Right. Exactly.
Of puppies.
Yeah. So obviously I'm right there guiding him through the whole thing and being like, you're all right, boy. Like, good job. I laughed at him because it was hilarious. But he's like, oh, well, mum doesn't seem phased. I know I've felt controlled stress previously. I've gotten through it. So I'm going to go back in. I'm going to tell this river to go. I won't swear, but you get the point.
Yeah.
The other example is he's starting to connect the dots on his baths. And it's hilarious. So he's starting to understand that when mum gets a towel out and I see that shampoo bottle over there and she's put this thing on the floor and, oh my God, I'm getting a bath. And he started like hightailing it, which I think is hilarious. And the funny thing, though, is that he's had a bath. He really doesn't mind it all that much. He gets a full massage, a scratch. Like, he ends up falling asleep halfway through his bath, just sitting there going, oh, this is great. But what he comes back in to do at the end of it all, once I've dried him off and cleaned the bathroom and it's all finished, cracks me up. He'll come back in and the shampoo will still be sitting on the edge of the bathtub, and he'll come back in and just like swat it with either his foot or his nose and like push it into the bathtub. And then walk off like, I showed that guy. So like,
showed that shampoo.
Yeah, that's right. So seeing the little moments starting to come through where he's like, oh no, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell that guy what for. Like, that makes my heart really, really happy.
Yeah.
Because it means that, hey, like we're building him up to go back to the thing and test it out or try again.
Yeah.
So,
and even like, as you're saying with, that was just a couple of days ago, yesterday, where he fell into the water and then went back and battled the creek. But this morning, today, I took him back to the creek and he walked straight into the water. Yeah. So it's not like there was residue in that, like, oh my God, I don't want to go back into the water. This is so scary.
Oh, and when we say fell into the water, mind you, the water was up to his little elbows. He's just so clumsy that he's literally slipped and his head went underwater. It wasn't like he was in a space where he couldn't touch.
Yeah. So to wrap it up.
Yeah, because we've been babbling for an hour.
In like a one sentence kind of.
I don't like that.
As you don't like it, I'm the waffler here.
Yeah, go.
In one sentence, what would you say to somebody who's looking to do puppy school, has a puppy, like, this is what you kind of should be looking for? Or like if
one sentence.
If you had to describe to something like describe someone to somebody what the most important thing is.
Can I have a paragraph? Does it have to be a sentence? Well, a few things that I would dot point if I was to briefly say to somebody, if I was to briefly talk to somebody about puppy development, I would say what we said a little earlier, which is not to compromise their relationship for obedience. Like obedience is not the most important thing when you're developing a puppy. It comes later on. Mm-hmm. I would say to play with your dog, your puppy, and do life with your puppy, as in like guide them through things rather than leaving them on their own to figure it out. Like actually do the thing together with your puppy.
Yeah.
Because I think like the more that you're doing that, the more value your relationship is going to have.
Yeah.
There's a billion things that I could say. I'm going to stop there.
Yeah.
What would yours be? One sentence. 5 words.
5 freaking words. Me? 5 words? No way. We'll need another podcast just for this question. I think it's like, don't forget that you've got a dog and, live life with your dog. Like your dog is part of your life and don't leave him stranded on things. And if I was to put my dog trainer hat on would be, and if you're struggling, don't wait until things get worse. Actually, act on it quicker than what you're probably trying to push it to. As in, like, if you're really struggling with something, ask a dog trainer. Ask somebody who can guide you through some stuff.
And if the dog trainer says, yeah, well, let's go learn a sit, then I'd take 10 steps backwards and contact somebody else.
Yeah, look, another way of like looking at it would be is depending on how the dog trainer that you're asking for flavors their conversation, will be indicative of what the training program, what it looks like. And a nice way, I do this with breeders. Like if a breeder is talking to you about the colors of a dog,
that's right,
then you know that their primary focus is the aesthetics of what a dog looks
that's right,
like.
not the
if a breeder is talking about like hip scores and like health, you know that primarily their breeding program looks like it's health based.
Well, they're breeding for purpose, for the purpose of the breed.
Yeah, but then you've got breeders that speak from a purpose point.
Yeah.
That talk about like this bloodline did this and has like this title in this and has that title in that, and
Yeah, but those last two go hand in hand, right? You can't have a dog that's purpose bred.
Yeah, but you can have a dog that's
got shit hips.
You can have a dog that has perfect hip scores, but isn't well built for the task at hand. So they can overlap those two things, but in order if you breed for purpose, then by definition medically you have to have
the dog has to be sound.
It have to be cleared.
Yeah.
All right, but you can be cleared but not have the same drives.
Anyway, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
See, I told you. I fucking told you. I can't do one sentence.
Not only did you do 12 sentences, but you changed the book and the chapter, and now we're on a different topic. All right, guys, that's us.
That's it.
Closing music.
Oh, my. Oh, okay. Wow. All right, love you guys. Bye.
Bye.